The Vickers light tank MKV was one of the primary armored vehicles used by British forces during the Anglo-Iraqi War of 1941 and broader World War II operations in Iraq and the Middle East. Designed mainly for reconnaissance and internal security rather than heavy frontline combat, the MKV was well suited to Iraq's wide-open terrain and extreme desert conditions. Armed with machine guns instead of a main cannon, the tank relied on speed, mobility, and visibility to perform patrol, escort, and rapid response missions against Iraqi forces loyal to the Rashid Ali government. During the brief but decisive campaign, Vickers light tanks supported British columns advancing from bases in Transjordan and India, helping to secure airfields, communication routes, and key infrastructure around Baghdad and Habbaniyah. Although lightly armored and vulnerable to anti-tank weapons, the MKV proved effective against poorly equipped opposition and played an important role in maintaining British control over strategic oil routes and airbases. Its use in Iraq demonstrated how light tanks could be employed successfully for colonial warfare, security operations, and rapid intervention, even as heavier tanks were becoming dominant on major European battlefields. The Matilda II infantry tank was one of the most heavily armored British tanks deployed in Middle Eastern theaters during World War II, including Iraq, where its presence symbolized overwhelming mechanical superiority during regional operations. Although originally designed to support infantry assaults in Europe, the Matilda II proved highly effective in desert and semi-desert environments due to its exceptional armor protection and mechanical reliability. During the 1941 Anglo-Iraqi War and subsequent security operations, Matilda tanks were used primarily as shock vehicles, advancing deliberately to intimidate opposition forces and secure strategic locations such as airfields, road junctions, and government installations. Armed with a 2-pounder main gun and multiple machine guns, the Matilda II could defeat lightly armored vehicles and fortified positions encountered in Iraq. Its thick armor made it nearly impervious to the small-caliber weapons available to Iraqi forces at the time, allowing it to operate with confidence even in exposed terrain. Although slow and mechanically demanding, the Matilda II demonstrated how heavily armored infantry tanks could dominate conflicts where the enemy lacked effective anti-tank capabilities, reinforcing British control over critical oil routes and military infrastructure in Iraq during World War II. The cruiser tank MKIV, also known as the A-13, represented Britain's doctrine of fast, mobile armored warfare and was deployed in Middle Eastern theaters, including Iraq, during World War II. Unlike heavily armored infantry tanks, the A-13 was designed for speed, maneuver, and exploitation, making it suitable for wide desert spaces and rapid advances. During regional operations linked to the 1941 Anglo-Iraqi War, cruiser tanks were used to project power quickly, escort motorized columns, and secure key routes, airfields, and communication hubs before resistance could organize. Armed with a 2-pounder gun and machine guns, the MKIV could defeat light armor and fortified positions likely to be encountered in Iraq, though its thinner armor required careful handling. Its Christie suspension system provided high mobility across sand and rough terrain, allowing British forces to maintain operational tempo. While vulnerable in prolonged engagements, the cruiser tank MKIV demonstrated the value of speed and flexibility in controlling large areas with limited opposition, reinforcing British dominance and showing how mobile armor could influence outcomes even in short regional campaigns. The Rolls-Royce armored car was one of the most iconic and effective British armored vehicles used in Iraq during World War II, particularly during the 1941 Anglo-Iraqi War and subsequent security operations across the region. Originally designed during World War I and continuously upgraded, this armored car proved exceptionally well suited for desert patrol, reconnaissance, and rapid response missions. In Iraq's vast open spaces, where speed and range mattered more than heavy armor, the Rolls-Royce armored car allowed British forces to move quickly between airfields, oil facilities, and key communication routes. Armed with machine guns and protected by light armor, it was ideal for intimidating opposition, escorting convoys, and suppressing lightly armed resistance. Its reliability and long operational range made it a preferred vehicle for maintaining control over large areas with minimal manpower. During the Anglo-Iraqi conflict, these armored cars played a crucial role in demonstrating British mobility and dominance, often arriving before heavier units could deploy. The continued use of such an old but adaptable design highlighted how proven mobility platforms remain strategically valuable in regional warfare environments like Iraq. The Marmon Harrington armored car was widely used by British and Commonwealth forces in the Middle East during World War II, including operations connected to Iraq and regional security duties after the 1941 Anglo-Iraqi War. Designed in the United States but produced and adapted in several variants, the Marmon Harrington was valued for its reliability, four-wheel drive, and suitability for desert conditions. In Iraq, these armored cars were primarily employed for reconnaissance, convoy escort, and internal security, patrolling long stretches of road between airfields, oil installations, and supply depots. Armed with machine guns and, in some versions, light cannons, the vehicle provided adequate firepower against lightly equipped opposition while maintaining high mobility across sand and rough terrain. Its relatively simple mechanical design allowed for easier maintenance far from major repair facilities, an essential advantage in remote areas. Although lightly armored, the Marmon Harrington proved effective in projecting authority and maintaining control over vast regions with limited manpower, demonstrating how mobile armored cars played a critical role in Middle Eastern operations during World War II. The Bedford QL military truck was one of the most important logistical vehicles used by British forces in Iraq during World War II, forming the backbone of transport, supply, and mobility across the region. Designed specifically for military service, the QL featured a forward control cab and a robust chassis that allowed it to carry troops, fuel, ammunition, food, and engineering equipment over long distances. In Iraq's harsh desert environment, where rail networks were limited and roads were often rough or non-existent, the Bedford QL ensured continuous movement between airfields, garrisons, oil facilities, and supply depots. Its reliability and ease of maintenance made it especially valuable in remote areas far from major repair centers. Variants of the QL were adapted for multiple roles, including troop transport, radio communications, fuel tankers, and mobile workshops. Although unarmored and vulnerable, the truck's sheer numbers and constant presence made it indispensable to British operations. The Bedford QL demonstrated that logistical vehicles were just as crucial as tanks and armored cars, proving that sustained supply and mobility determined success in regional campaigns like those conducted in Iraq during World War II. The Fordson WOT-2 and WOT-3 military trucks were among the most widely used British transport vehicles during World War II, including extensive service in Iraq and surrounding Middle Eastern regions. Built for durability and simplicity, these trucks were designed to operate reliably in harsh climates where heat, dust, and long distances placed constant strain on engines and crews. In Iraq, Fordson trucks played a vital role in moving troops, ammunition, fuel, food supplies, and engineering equipment between airfields, oil installations, administrative centers, and forward garrisons. Their sturdy chassis and dependable engines allowed them to operate on poor roads and open desert tracks where civilian vehicles could not survive. Variants of the WAT series were adapted for multiple roles, including troop carriers, radio trucks, ambulances, and general cargo transport. Although completely unarmored and vulnerable to attack, their sheer numbers and continuous use made them essential to British control and mobility across Iraq. The Fordson WOT-2 and WOT-3 demonstrated that logistics vehicles were the foundation of sustained military operations, proving that control of territory depended not only on combat vehicles but also on the constant flow of supplies during World War II. The Universal Carrier, commonly known as the Bren Carrier, was one of the most versatile light-tracked vehicles used by British forces during World War II, including service in Iraq and nearby Middle Eastern regions. Compact, lightly armored, and mechanically simple, the carrier was designed to transport infantry sections, weapons, and supplies while operating alongside larger armored formations. In Iraq, Bren carriers were particularly valuable for patrol duties, internal security, convoy protection, and rapid movement across rough terrain where wheeled vehicles struggled. Armed with a Bren light machine gun and capable of carrying additional weapons or equipment, the carrier provided mobile firepower against lightly armed opposition. Its tracked suspension allowed it to cross soft sand, uneven ground, and shallow obstacles, making it suitable for desert and semi-desert operations. Although open-topped and vulnerable, the Universal Carrier's speed, flexibility, and ease of maintenance ensured constant availability. Its widespread use demonstrated how small, adaptable vehicles could perform multiple battlefield roles, reinforcing British control and mobility during regional operations in Iraq throughout World War II. The M3 half-track represented a new generation of hybrid military vehicles that combined the steering control of wheeled transport with the off-road capability of tracked vehicles, and it saw service with Allied forces across the Middle East during World War II, including Iraq in later regional operations. Designed primarily for troop transport and battlefield mobility, the M3 could carry infantry squads, heavy weapons, and supplies while keeping pace with armored units. In Iraq's varied terrain of paved roads, dirt tracks, and open desert, the half-track design proved especially useful, allowing forces to move quickly without becoming immobilized by soft ground. Armed with machine guns for self-defense and fire support, the M3 provided mobile protection against lightly armed opposition and was frequently used for convoy escort, security patrols, and rapid troop deployment. Its open-top design allowed flexibility but left crews exposed to heat and enemy fire, making coordination and movement essential. The introduction of the M3 half-track highlighted the growing importance of mechanized infantry and mobility-focused doctrine, demonstrating how versatile transport vehicles could extend operational reach and strengthen Allied control during World War II operations in regions like Iraq. The AEC armored car Mki was one of the heaviest and most powerfully armed armored cars used by British forces in the Middle East during World War II, including service connected to Iraq and regional security operations. Built on a commercial truck chassis but fitted with heavy armor and a tank turret, the AEC combined mobility with firepower unmatched by most other armored cars of its time. Armed with a 2-pounder gun and machine guns, the Mki was capable of engaging enemy vehicles, fortified positions, and roadblocks, making it especially valuable for controlling long desert routes and strategic corridors. In Iraq, where large distances separated key airfields, oil installations, and administrative centers, the AEC armored car provided both deterrence and rapid reaction capability. Its thick armor allowed it to operate confidently against small arms fire, while its wheeled design ensured high road speed and long operational range. Although larger and heavier than typical reconnaissance vehicles, the AEC armored car demonstrated how firepower-heavy armored cars could dominate regional operations, reinforcing British authority and securing vital infrastructure during World War II.